Welcome back. Welcome to the Premier Mindset by Premier Performance LLC. I'm your host, Trent Mailer, LCSW, licensed clinical therapist and performance coach, and this is episode 39. A lot of people think therapy is something you only turn to when things fall apart. That individual therapy is for crisis, couples therapy is for relationships on the edge, and family therapy is for households in chaos. That's not the truth. Therapy isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about strengthening what matters. The more you avoid the inner work and relational work because things seem fine, the more stress, tension, and misalignment quietly builds. For high performers, skipping therapy is one of the fastest ways to limit long-term success. The signs show up in subtle ways. When you struggle to communicate honestly with your partner, when old patterns keep showing up in family interactions, or when you feel disconnected from yourself even though everything looks good on paper. It can even hide inside excellence, building businesses, chasing achievements, or grinding through your goals while your emotional and relational world slowly becomes neglected. Real growth doesn't come from willpower alone. It comes from knowing yourself, strengthening your closest bonds, and having the emotional stability to carry the load of a high-performance life. Today, we're breaking down how individual therapy, couples therapy, and family therapy each play a critical role. You'll learn how they help keep you grounded, help you communicate clearly, and help to navigate conflict without losing yourself, all while building relationships that support, not drain your success. You'll also understand how therapy helps you operate with more clarity, more emotional range, and more long-term resilience so you can reach your potential without burning out or blowing up the relationships that matter most. Quick note before we dive in. This podcast is for education and performance growth. It's not a replacement for therapy or medical treatment. If there are things you need, make sure you go and get them. You can watch full episodes on YouTube, Spotify, along with the audio-only version on Apple Podcasts. I'll also be sharing clips across Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and X. So hit subscribe or follow to catch every drop of new content, with content coming out every day and new episodes of the podcast coming out every week. All the links to the social media are all in the show notes, so go check that out and follow along and get involved in those communities. If you ever felt like you're trying to carry too much alone, or you're noticing cracks in your relationships while you're chasing big goals, this episode is for you. Let's get into it. What is individual therapy? Individual therapy, also known as psychotherapy or talk therapy, is a confidential, one-on-one mental health treatment process between a trained professional and a client. The primary goal is to help individuals explore their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors to achieve personal growth, develop healthier coping skills, and to improve their overall quality of life. Sessions focus entirely on the individual's unique needs and goals, unlike group or family therapy. It provides a safe, non-judgmental space where private information can be shared openly with a professional who is bound by a code of ethics. The process is a collaborative effort, with the therapist acting as a guide and the client being an active participant in their own healing journey. The therapist customizes the treatment plan and techniques that they use to address the client's specific concerns, and this is where different therapy types come in, like CBT or DBT or EMDR or anything in between. There's a lot of different techniques out there and a lot of different strategies people can use, and finding the right fit does sometimes go back to the type of therapy that the therapist is practicing. Therapists are licensed professionals. They could be psychologists, social workers like myself, counselors, psychiatrists, and many other things too. With specialized training to help clients manage various mental, emotional, and behavioral challenges, these people are ready to help. So with that, if you haven't ever gotten therapy before and you're interested or even curious about it, I think it's a good idea to check it out. Even if it doesn't last a long time, that's okay. But having something set up or just trying it out could give you some benefits you don't realize are out there. And on top of all that, if you have tried things out and it hasn't worked out well or hasn't been what you want it to be, I encourage you to keep trying. The number one thing I've heard from my clients and from other people in the space is that having bad experiences with therapists can really stop us from getting back into the work that we need to do and hold us back from the life we want to live. So to overcome that, we got to make sure to keep on trying things because the right fit is out there. You just might need to go through a couple people before you find it. But once you find it, you can usually stay with that person for years if you need it. So don't be afraid to keep trying things out until you find that right fit out there. What is couples therapy? Couples therapy, also known as couples counseling or marriage counseling, is a form of psychotherapy designed to help romantic partners resolve conflicts, improve communication, and strengthen their emotional connection and overall relationship satisfaction. In couples therapy, a trained, licensed mental health professional acts as a neutral third party to guide a discussion in a safe, non judgmental environment, kind of acting as like a referee. The process typically begins with an initial assessment of the relationship's history, strengths, and current challenges, typically what brought them in. The couple and the therapist then collaborate to set specific shared goals for therapy, such as improving communication or rebuilding trust after infidelity or other issues that could show up within relationships. The therapist helps partners identify dysfunctional patterns of interaction and underlying issues, often emotional needs or past traumas, that contribute to conflicts. Couples learn and practice essential skills for a healthy relationship, including learning to express feelings and needs clearly, using I statements, and actively listening to each other to improve communication. This is also followed by developing healthier strategies for managing disagreements and preventing issues from escalating, which is really where a lot of the problems do come in fights and relationships. And followed by gaining a deeper understanding and appreciation of each other's perspectives and emotions to better understand where they're coming from and to get on the same page together. Now let's talk about family therapy. Family therapy is a type of psychotherapy that works with immediate or extended family members to address specific issues, improve communication, and resolve conflicts within the family system. The core idea is that the family is an interconnected unit, and a problem affecting one member can impact everyone else. Unlike individual therapy, which focuses solely on one person, family therapy views problems within the context of family interaction patterns and dynamics. The client, in this case, is the entire family system, not just a single individual. A trained mental health professional provides a safe, objective, and non judgmental space for family members to express their feelings and concerns openly. So, again, kind of like couples therapy, acting a little bit like a referee, guiding discussions, and maybe even pointing some things out and helping people identify patterns that are happening within the system. The therapist helps the family learn and practice new, healthier ways of interacting, such as active listening, empathy building, problem solving, and setting clear boundaries. Sessions may involve various combinations of family members and can be short term, which would be around 9 to 12 sessions on average, or long term, depending on the complexity of the issues and what is going on. Now let's tie in how all of this impacts high performers, because this is what we're doing here with the Premier Mindset, which we're focusing on high performance and optimizing what we're doing in life. So why your internal world collapses before your external performance does, because this is a big reason why we need to get into these things and take advantage of these resources. The idea that the internal world collapses before external performance does is rooted in the psychological principle that internal states, such as thoughts, emotions, and mindsets, are the foundation for our actions and resilience. A person's performance can remain outwardly high for a time due to discipline or momentum, but the internal strain of unresolved psychological issues eventually depletes the mental resources necessary to sustain that performance, making a visible decline inevitable. Here's why this happens. Sustaining high performance, especially under stress, requires significant cognitive resources like attention, decision making, and emotional regulation. Internal conflicts like anxiety, self doubt, misalignment of values, and actions consume these resources, leading to cognitive overload. Initially, individuals may push harder, to hustle, to compensate, but this leads to eventual exhaustion and burnout. The self acts as an interface between inner and outer realities, constantly mediating information to maintain internal balance. When internal stress is high, energy is diverted to restore inner equilibrium, leaving less energy to effectively cope with external demands and maintain performance. Burnout and performance breakdowns often stem from a mismatch between an individual's internal state and external expectations. For example, an executive might feel overwhelmed and anxious internally, but is expected to appear poised and empathetic externally. This dissonance creates significant psychological stress and can cause a bunch of declines or struggles. Internal decline, such as a loss of purpose or increased stress, manifests in subtle psychological shifts, like changes in mindset or even motivation. Before physical or visible behavior changes actually occur, the changes internally happen first. For instance, a decline in cognitive health might precede a decline in physical health, but the effects of both create a vicious cycle. The ability to regulate emotions is crucial for peak performance. When emotion regulation skills are strained or insufficient, the negative impact of chronic stress is amplified, directly affecting cognitive performance and the ability to maintain consistent, high-quality work. If a person with a collapsing internal world attributes success to external factors, like I got lucky, and failure to internal factors, like I'm not good enough, it further erodes the internal resilience and long-term potential, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of decline, which is why we have to be mindful of the way we're talking to ourselves with the self-talk and how things like imposter syndrome can get in our way and cause us to crash. Going further with how therapy helps, early wiring affects our leadership, conflict, and intimacy skills. And these things come from how things typically went in our childhood in some way. A person's early wiring, which is primarily shaped by their initial experiences with primary caregivers, creates fundamental neural pathways and internal working models that act as a blueprint for adult behavior in leadership, conflict, and intimacy. So first, we're going to focus on leadership. Early experiences with power, safety, and authority shapes a leader's core operating system. Individuals with secure attachment tend to develop into leaders who value empathy, collaboration, and psychological safety. They can build trust. They can delegate effectively, and they can manage teams with a balanced approach because they are comfortable with both independence and interdependence. Anxious leaders, on the other hand, may be prone to micromanagement and people-pleasing tendencies, as they seek external validation to soothe the internal anxieties about their own competence. This can lead to burnout and difficulty asserting themselves, which are huge issues when trying to lead a team. Avoidant leaders often approach professional situations with an intellectual, detached precision, setting clear boundaries but struggling with emotional awareness of their team's needs. This can hinder collaboration and morale. They may be uncomfortable with the messiness of human interaction, favoring efficiency over connection, and they can get so caught up with the logic or the technical aspects that they lose sight of how people are feeling. And without that morale, you're not going to get things done as a team. You need to have the team taken care of, both emotionally and logically or physically. Now diving into conflict. Early wiring determines an individual's ability to regulate emotions during stress and relational tension. Securely attached individuals are more likely to engage in constructive problem solving during conflicts. They can regulate their emotions effectively, communicate their needs clearly, and actively seek collaboration, finding mutually beneficial solutions without becoming overwhelmed or defensive. Anxious individuals often have a heightened emotional response to conflict, fearing abandonment and constantly seeking reassurance. They may engage in clingy or overly emotional behaviors that can escalate conflict, or, on the other hand, they may suppress their needs entirely to avoid confrontation, kind of a little bit like avoidant individuals. Avoidant individuals often find conflict threatening and respond with emotional withdrawal or detachment as a protective mechanism. They may struggle to acknowledge negative thoughts and feelings, making effective resolution difficult and potentially damage the emotional bonds in a relationship over time. And with that, if you damage those relationships or if those relationships aren't kept in a healthy state, it's just a matter of time before the team disintegrates. And you're not going to be able to keep replacing people constantly and be able to reach the goal that you have in mind. You're going to need continuity within the team so you guys can keep working on things in a consistent manner without constant change. Now diving into intimacy. The quality of a person's earliest intimate relationships with caregivers directly forecast their capacity for trust, vulnerability, and closeness as an adult. Securely wired adults generally have healthier, more satisfying relationships characterized by trust, support, and an ability to balance intimacy and independence. They feel comfortable expressing affection and needs and can accept support when needed. Anxious individuals may crave intense intimacy but fear rejection or betrayal. This can manifest as clinginess or jealousy, putting immense strain on partners. Avoidant individuals often struggle with deep emotional intimacy and vulnerability. While they may desire close relationships, they have difficulty letting others in and may isolate themselves or keep relationships at a surface level. Understanding these early patterns provides a roadmap for personal growth. While early wiring is influential, the brain's neuroplasticity means that these patterns can be identified and modified through self-awareness, new positive experiences, and interventions like individuals or even couple therapy. Now let's talk about how therapy helps you build emotional capacity before stress takes you out by providing a structured environment to understand, manage, and expand your mental and emotional resources. This proactive approach strengthens your internal resilience, making you less susceptible to the negative impacts of chronic stress and burnout. Here's how therapy contributes to building emotional capacity. First, it helps develop emotional self-awareness. Therapy provides a safe space to explore and identify your emotions, which is the first step in managing them effectively. We talked about emotions way back, I think it's episode, I don't remember the number, I'm not going to guess, but it is a whole episode talking about understanding and working with our emotions. So go back through the catalog and go find that. That's going to be helpful for you to dive into if you want to learn more about the emotions and what they're doing for you. You also learn to recognize specific situations, thoughts, or people that consistently cause stress or distress in your life. And then we can start problem solving, working on things, that type of stuff. A therapist helps you move beyond generic terms like stressed or overwhelmed to pinpoint precise emotions, like I feel undervalued, I am anxious about uncertainty. This clarity allows for more targeted coping strategies and better problem-solving skills because we're more accurate and specific of what problem we're dealing with. Another aspect of this is learning and practicing those coping skills. Therapists introduce evidence-based techniques to help you navigate stress more effectively. You see this with different therapy styles like CBT or DBT or EMDR. We've talked about many of those in the past. Therapists teach practical skills like deep breathing, grounding exercises, mindfulness, meditation to downregulate the nervous system when stress levels rise so we keep things under control and we feel like we have a good grip on what is happening. Going deeper, we can also process past experiences and trauma. Unresolved past experiences or trauma consume significant emotional energy in the present, reducing overall capacity. Therapy helps process these unresolved issues, freeing up emotional bandwidth that was previously tied up in managing past pain or anxiety. By understanding how past experiences influence current reactions to stress, you can consciously choose new, healthier responses and take your life back. It also helps improve communication and boundaries. A significant source of stress is often interpersonal conflict and feeling overwhelmed by others' demands. Therapists assist you in identifying your limits and learning how to communicate them assertively and respectfully, such as saying no without guilt. You learn communication strategies to express your needs clearly, reducing conflict and the stress associated with feeling unheard or misunderstood. And we also normalize vulnerability while building self-compassion. Many people are in high-stress environments, struggle with perfectionism and self-criticism. Therapy fosters self-compassion, helping you treat yourself with the same kindness you would a friend. This internal support system builds resilience against stress. The confidential therapeutic relationship allows you to practice being vulnerable without fear of judgment, which translates into healthier, more authentic relationships in your external life. By engaging in therapy, you aren't just reacting to stress. You're proactively investing in your mental and emotional reserves, ensuring you have the capacity to handle future challenges without your internal world and thus your external performance collapsing. Therapy is an investment into your future, which is why I think it's such a powerful thing so many people should take advantage of who don't. And that's why I want to cover this topic on this episode today. And we see a lot of this within the psychology of silent suffering that happens so prevalently among our high performers. Silent suffering among high performers is a prevalent psychological phenomenon driven by a complex interplay of internal pressures and external expectations that make admitting vulnerability feel like a threat to their identity and success. High performers often set exceptionally high, often unrealistic standards for themselves. Failure is not seen as an option, but as a devastating blow to their self-worth. This chronic internal pressure and fear of falling short fuels anxiety and prevents them from admitting struggles. Many high achievers over-identify with their accomplishments, their titles, and productivity. Their self-worth is measured by what they achieve. Admitting that they are struggling challenges their entire identity, creating an internal conflict that makes silence a default response. In competitive environments, expressing vulnerability can be perceived as weakness. High performers who are often seen as the strong one or the reliable one internalize the belief that they must always appear capable and in control, leading them to mask their pain. Despite their accomplishments, many high achievers struggle with persistent internal fear of being exposed as a fraud who does not deserve their success. This self-doubt amplifies the need to hide any sign of struggle. In high-performance cultures, stress and long hours are often worn as badges of honor. This environment normalizes an "I'm fine" mentality where individuals push through exhaustion until a potential breakdown occurs, making it difficult to recognize when their stress levels are unsustainable. High performers frequently have a strong sense of responsibility towards their teams, families, and colleagues who rely on them. They may fear that speaking up will let others down or become a burden, leading them to quietly neglect their own needs. Now let's discuss how ambition can become emotional avoidance. Ambition can become a sophisticated form of emotional avoidance when the pursuit of external success serves as a distraction from uncomfortable internal feelings, introspection, or unresolved personal issues. The mechanism of avoidance. Ambition's transformation into emotional avoidance often begins subtly. The primary mechanism is using goal-oriented activity as a numbing or distracting agent. A perpetually packed schedule driven by ambitious goals leaves no room for quiet reflection or processing difficult emotions. By remaining constantly on the go, the individual avoids unstructured time where emotions might surface. High achievement provides regular hits of dopamine and external praise. This temporarily fills the void left by emotional neglect of not processing those difficult emotions or that low self-esteem. The pursuit of the next goal becomes a chase for validation rather than genuine fulfillment, which is why we have to keep on chasing. Ambition is centered around measurable outcomes, like promotions, incomes, or accolades, which feels concrete and controllable. Emotions, however, are messy, unpredictable, and often require vulnerability. Shifting focus to the tangible allows the individual to sideline the intangible emotional landscape because it feels safer. And we talk about the cost of control in an episode just a couple episodes ago, so you guys should go check that one out as well if that's something you struggle with, of just trying to control things all the time. It becomes a problem when the drive to achieve feels less like a passion and more like a compulsive need to stay busy to avoid an internal reality. Individuals using ambition this way often struggle to relax, feel restless during their downtime, and may experience burnout despite achieving significant success. They achieve their goals but still feel empty or unsatisfied because the underlying emotional issues were never addressed. In essence, the pursuit of success becomes a shield, allowing individuals to run toward a future goal while simultaneously running away from their present self and emotions. And if any of this sounds like you, reach out to me and let me know. Even if you just want to send me a quick message, you can just DM me clarity, and I will start giving you tools you can use right now to get better on these things and get into a path that's going to work for you. And with high achievers, there's a few relationship patterns that tend to show up more than others. High achievers often fall into specific relationship patterns driven by the very traits that contribute to their success, such as a focus on performance, independence, emotional suppression, and an intense drive for external validation. First one is the co-pilot relationship. In this dynamic, the relationship functions less like a partnership and more like a highly efficient team or business arrangement aimed at maximizing productivity and achieving shared goals, like a perfect family life, a social status, or even career success. Characteristics are that the roles are highly defined. Communication is usually task-oriented, and efficiency is prized. It's the number one goal. The pitfalls are emotional connection and vulnerability are often sacrificed for functional utility. The relationship can feel transactional or hollow, where partners are colleagues rather than intimate companions, which can also feel like there isn't a whole bunch of trust being built, feeling like it's more focused on the outcome than it is actually focused on being with each other. The second is the power imbalance. This is usually the achiever and the supporter. One partner is the central high achiever, and the other partner primarily takes on the supportive role, such as managing the household, emotional needs, and logistics to free up the achiever's time and energy. The characteristics are that the achiever's career or goals takes precedence over pretty much everything. The supporter finds meaning in enabling the other's success. They find meaning in supporting. And the pitfalls are that resentment can build as the supporter may feel unseen or undervalued, while the achiever may struggle with an unhealthy dependence on their partner, which can strain the relationships if the roles are challenged. The next is the competitive pairing. When both partners are high achievers with a strong competitive streak, the relationship can turn into a zero-sum game, meaning that there has to be a winner and there has to be a loser. Characteristics of this are constant comparison of successes, salaries, or recognition. Each partner may struggle to celebrate the other's wins genuinely because it feels like it's taking away from yours. This leads to the pitfalls of creating a high-stress environment that erodes intimacy and safety. The relationship becomes a source of stress rather than a sanctuary from it, as one partner's success is perceived as a threat to the other's ego. The next type of relationship is the avoidance alliance. In this pattern, both partners use their careers, busyness, and ambitious goals as a mutual unspoken agreement to avoid deep emotional intimacy or confronting difficult feelings. Characteristics of this are long work hours are the norms, and busyness is the shared language. Time together is very scarce and often centers around superficial relaxation or functional conversations, never really getting deep with each other. The pitfalls of this are that the couple experiences emotional distance and isolation despite being together. The lack of vulnerability prevents true connection and makes them vulnerable to midlife crisis or sudden separation when the illusion of productivity inevitably fails to satisfy emotional needs. And then the last one is the pursuer and the distancer dynamic, the anxious avoidant trap. High achievers, often having avoidant attachment styles due to prioritizing independence, may partner with individuals with anxious attachment styles. The achiever distances themselves when stressed, focusing on work, while the partner pursues connection and reassurance. Characteristics of this are a constant cycle of one person reaching out and the other pulling away, creating a painful dance. The pitfalls is that this dynamic creates chronic dissatisfaction. The high achiever feels stifled or overly needy, and the partner feels unheard and unloved, constantly chasing a connection the achiever struggles to provide. So again, if you find yourself in any of these patterns or in any of these types of relationships, reach out, whether to me or to someone else, and start working on these things now because it's going to help you. Our relationships are our backbone to support us as we go out and put ourselves in these difficult spots, especially the intimate relationships we have with our romantic partners, because these are the people we tend to spend the most time with. So we need to make sure they're in good places. We need to take care of them because they can act as almost like a superpower and an amplifier that helps us get more things done. But it can also drain us too. It can amplify all of the negative things as well if it's not in a good place. So make sure to take care of things if it's not where you want it or not where you need it to be. And with that, let's talk about how therapy recalibrates intimacy, communication, and support. Therapy serves as a powerful tool to recalibrate intimacy, communication, and support in relationships by equipping individuals or couples with self-awareness and practical skills needed to foster healthier, more connected dynamics. Therapy provides a structured environment to break down ineffective communication habits and build new, constructive ones. Therapists teach techniques that help individuals truly hear and understand their partners or family members' perspectives, rather than just waiting for their turn to speak. This reduces defensiveness and increases empathy. Clients learn to express their own feelings and needs clearly using I statements such as "I feel unheard when you talk over me," rather than making accusatory you statements of "you never listen to me." which minimizes conflict, promotes understanding, and reduces defensiveness. The therapist acts as a neutral facilitator, ensuring conversations remain respectful and productive, preventing discussions from escalating into arguments or allowing difficult topics to be addressed safely. Again, kind of acting as that referee. Intimacy is not just physical, it is an emotional closeness, trust, and vulnerability. Therapy helps individuals build the psychological safety required for deep connection, which comes usually after communication is set up in a better way. For many, especially high achievers who view vulnerability as a weakness, therapy helps reframe it as a strength necessary for intimacy. It provides a safe space to practice expressing genuine feelings and needs. Unresolved issues or past betrayals often block intimacy. Therapy helps partners process and heal from these wounds, allowing them to rebuild trust and get closer. By understanding how their own and their partner's attachment styles, anxious, avoidant, influence their needs and behaviors, individuals can stop reacting to triggers and start responding to actual needs, which enhances closeness. And that usually leads to enhancing mutual support. Therapy recalibrates how individuals offer and receive support, ensuring that everyone feels genuinely seen and backed by their loved ones. People often assume what support looks like giving advice. Therapy helps individuals clearly articulate the specific kind of support they need in different situations, like I need a hug, not a solution right now. A core component of therapy is establishing boundaries. Clear boundaries prevent burnout for the person offering support and ensure that the support is provided in healthy, sustainable ways and not as an obligation. Therapists teach the value of empathy and validation over immediate problem solving. True support often means simply being present and validating another person's experience rather than jumping in to fix it. And that can be something that we struggle with. So going through this can help us understand when we need to just kind of sit there and be present versus when we need to get involved and help out a little bit more. Now we're going to zoom out and talk a little bit more about some neuroscience behind all this. Emotional bandwidth or capacity is a metaphor for the amount of energy and cognitive resources available to manage and process emotions, stress, and life's demands. The neuroscience behind the capacity centers on a complex interplay between key brain regions and neurochemical systems. This can be strengthened or weakened by experiences, habits, and interventions such as therapy. The brain manages emotional load through a core neural circuit involving top-down regulatory system and a bottom-up emotional response system. This is top-down treatment, bottom-up treatment. This is what we're talking about. Located within the limbic system, the amygdala rapidly processes emotional stimuli, especially threats, fear, and anger. When it perceives a danger, real or perceived, such as a looming deadline or a social conflict, it sends a distress signal to the hypothalamus, initiating the body's fight or flight stress response. We talk about this in our first episode, the threat system, if you want to check that one out. That's why I did that one first, because that's the foundation we're building on. I'll probably do it again at some point because it's a good reminder. Located at the front of the brain, we have the prefrontal cortex, which is the control center for higher cognitive functions, including decision-making, planning, and regulating emotional responses. It exerts top-down control over the amygdala, helping to interpret events, calm the stress response, and prevent impulsive, emotionally driven reactions. It is situated next to the amygdala is the hippocampus, which is crucial for memory and contextualizing events. It helps determine if a perceived threat is a current danger or a safe memory from the past. Chronic stress can damage the hippocampus and impair its ability to regulate the stress response effectively. The functional connectivity between these regions determines a person's emotional capacity and resilience to stress. Individuals with high emotional capacity often exhibit stronger, more efficient connections between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. This allows for quicker, more thoughtful modulation of emotional reactions rather than the immediate reactive responses. And with this, the brain is not static. It can change and adapt in response to experiences. This is a phenomenon called neuroplasticity. New neural pathways can be formed and strengthened, particularly in the hippocampus, through learning new coping skills and processing experiences, which increases emotional resilience. Neurotransmitters also play a huge role. Cortisol and adrenaline are released during stress by the HPA axis. These hormones are vital for acute survival, but chronic exposure can be detrimental, leading to wear and tear on the body and brain, particularly shrinking the hippocampus by that chronic stress. Serotonin and dopamine are also involved as well. Balanced levels of serotonin for mood stability and dopamine for motivation and reward are linked to better emotional regulation and resilience. And BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor. This protein promotes neuronal growth and connectivity. Stress reduces BDNF levels, while activities that build resilience, like exercise or therapy, can actually increase them. So you can create more of this protein that's helping grow the neurons and the connectivity that is happening in your brain. In essence, emotional bandwidth is a measure of how efficiently your brain systems work together to manage emotional input. When resources are low, the primitive emotional brain, the amygdala, takes over. When capacity is high, the rational brain, the prefrontal cortex, is in control. So with that in mind, let's talk about how couples and families therapy support frees up mental energy. Couples and family support systems free up significant mental and emotional energy by providing robust external scaffolding, which reduces the internal cognitive load individuals carry when facing challenges alone. The simple act of sharing a burden reduces the weight of the problem, allowing for more efficient processing. I have people that find success in whatever they're struggling with by literally just telling me. I don't even have to give them a solution or have them work through something. They literally just get it off their chest and they feel better. Sometimes that's all we need. A problem that seems insurmountable to one person can be reframed or broken down with input from a partner or family members. This injection of new perspectives can prevent a person from getting stuck in a cycle of rumination, which is repetitive negative thinking, which is a major energy drain that we can get stuck with. In a healthy family or couple system, roles and responsibilities are clear. This frees up mental energy that might otherwise be spent worrying about who is doing what or managing tasks all alone. Knowing responsibilities are shared creates a peace of mind and feels like you're not in this by yourself, feels like you can lean on others. Having a partner or family to talk through decisions with provides clarity and reduces decision fatigue. The mental energy spent on anxiety of making the wrong choice is minimized when the responsibility for the decision is shared or validated. Loneliness and emotional isolation are extremely taxing on the brain, as the body's stress response is activated in the absence of perceived safety and support. And we're seeing more and more research come out about the harms and difficulties that come from loneliness and emotional isolation. And it's getting pretty bad. So we got to connect with people. We need each other. We cannot live life by ourselves, even though it's easier than ever to live life alone. Humans inherently regulate each other's nervous systems. When you are stressed, a calm partner or a family member can help you de-escalate and calm down, shifting the nervous system from a fight or flight state back to a state of rest and digest. Knowing that your feelings are normal and accepted by your loved ones free up the vast amount of energy that would otherwise be used to suppress emotions, hide struggles, or that fear of judgment, so you can actually just be you and not hold these things back the whole time. A strong support system provides a psychological safety net. The fundamental feeling of security reduces baseline anxiety and hypervigilance, making more mental energy available for positive pursuits, creativity, and daily tasks. We're just freeing up that emotional capacity to do more. Support systems offer tangible help that directly reduces stress and frees up physical and mental time and energy. Whether it is help with chores, childcare, or managing logistics, practical support directly translates into less exhaustion and more free time. A partner or family can encourage healthy habits such as ensuring you eat well, exercise, or get enough sleep. This proactive health management builds physical and mental resilience, expanding emotional capacity. Discussing finances or career paths with a partner can reduce financial anxiety and provide strategic clarity, alleviating a significant source of mental strain. Not to mention, one of the most common issues that leads to couples breaking up is difficulty with finances, whether it be talking about or managing them or having issues go on with them. By externalizing many sources of stress and providing a reliable network for processing emotions and tasks, Couples and families support fundamentally increases an individual's mental and emotional bandwidth. So going back to high performers again, and talking about why regulated performers that learn these things through therapy and work through their issues that they have, whatever happened in their past, can outperform grind mode performers. Regulated performers consistently outperform grind mode performers in the long run because performance is not solely about effort, it's about the sustainable management of energy and emotional resources. Regulated performers often operate with a calm, focused mindset, while grind mode performers run on adrenaline and willpower, leading to eventual exhaustion and burnout. We want to design recovery systems into operations, treating rest and mental well-being as a critical component of performance, similar to an athlete's training regimen. This focuses on sustainability, allows them to maintain a consistent, high level of performance over extended periods of time. Another issue is prioritizing work over well-being. Pushing through exhaustion and constantly running on higher arousal is going to create problems. This approach leads to physical and mental exhaustion, cynicism, and a reduced professional efficacy, ultimately resulting in burnout. We want to operate from a place of clarity and trust, knowing that doing less with greater focus moves them further. They train their nervous system to stay grounded, which makes them calm, clear, and influential under pressure. Strong emotion regulational skills leads to a 13% higher rates of goal attainment and improved decision making in whatever you're doing. It is literally seen in research that this stuff works. It is very evident that these things are going to help you in your life. Some high performers often create from a place of chaos and fear, leading to information overload that is disguised as productivity. The inability to regulate their stress response causes them to become overpowered by pressure during critical moments, hindering their decision making and focus. With that, we want to trust rhythm and consistency over sheer force or willpower. High performers understand their mind-body connection and use signals like jaw tension or shallow breath as key performance indicators to self-correct and manage their energy. Awareness is the first step. Once we see something, we can do something about it. So noticing these signals means we can jump in and start doing things. And with that, if we rely on sheer willpower to slog through tasks, often ignoring our own body signals, we eventually break down. This approach is inefficient, and often leads to deterioration of the effectiveness of control processes and executive functioning, which is going to lead to further decline in your performance. Many high performers possess greater adaptability and resilience because their mental and emotional resources aren't constantly depleted. They can navigate changes and setbacks with greater ease because they have the capacity to manage their internal state and respond thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. High performers can also struggle to manage emotions amid setbacks due to being driven by external pressures, which increases their risk of burnout. And we did a whole episode on handling setbacks and failures. It's another great one to check out if you want to go through the catalog. Their inability to self-regulate makes them less agile and effective when faced with unexpected challenges. We don't have that flexibility needed to be successful when things go wrong. Ultimately, high performance isn't about constant exertion. It's about the state of the nervous system. The most productive people aren't the busiest, they're the calmest and most regulated. So we have to take care of that nervous system, no matter what is causing the issues with it. We got to dive into it, figure it out, and deal with it. Another issue a lot of high performers struggles with is losing their identity. High performers often lose their identity because they over-identify with their achievements in professional roles, allowing external successes to define their entire sense of self. This over-identification creates a fragile foundation for identity that is vulnerable to collapse when careers shift, success temporarily wanes, or personal lives demand attention. For many high performers, self-worth becomes directly proportional to their productivity, recognition, and status. The internal dialogue shifts from "I'm a valuable person" to "I am valuable because of what I achieve." This turns every endeavor into a validation test, making any shift in performance feel like a personal rejection. Maintaining an image of success and invincibility is mentally taxing. They often suppress vulnerability and personal interests that don't fit the high performer persona. This leads to an erosion of their authentic self beneath a carefully curated public identity. In the pursuit of excellence, time and energy are finite resources. Hobbies, personal relationships, self-reflection, and non-performance related interests are often deprioritized. The parts of their identity unrelated to work atrophy from disuse, leaving only the professional self remaining. And while the professional self is great, we need to be a whole person, not just one part of us. Now, talking about how individual therapy rebuilds a stable sense of self helps us when that identity kind of disappears. Individual therapy is highly effective in rebuilding a stable sense of self by providing a structured, safe environment where individuals can dismantle their performance based identity, explore their authentic selves, and build self worth independent of external validation. First, we want to dismantle the performance based identity. Therapy helps individuals recognize the difference between who they are and what they achieve. Therapists guide clients in challenging the belief that their value is tied to productivity or external success. This process involves identifying the core beliefs that link worth to performance. Clients learn they are not their job title, their income, or their achievements. This separation is crucial for building a resilient sense of self that can withstand career setbacks or transitions. Therapy helps individuals acknowledge the mask they wear for the outside world, and we all do it whether we want to admit it or not. By safely exploring the vulnerability beneath the facade, they begin the process of integrating their authentic self with their public persona so we can truly just be us. Next, facilitating self exploration and discovery. In the safe therapeutic space, clients can explore the parts of themselves that were neglected during the pursuit of high achievement. Therapy helps clarify personal values that align with the authentic self rather than those imposed by career or societal expectations. This internal compass provides direction and purpose independent of external goals. Clients are encouraged to reconnect with hobbies, relationships, and interests that bring joy and meaning, not professional advancement. Therapists help clients sit with the discomfort of inactivity and introspection, which high performers often avoid. This quiet space is essential for hearing one's inner voice and building self awareness. Then, after that, we want to build compassion, self compassion, and internal validation. A stable sense of self is rooted in how one treats oneself, not just how others do. Therapists teach techniques to replace a harsh inner critic with self compassion. Treating oneself with kindness during setbacks is a foundational element of resilience and stable self worth. Through the therapeutic process, clients learn to trust their own judgment and value their internal feelings and needs over external praise and opinions. This internal locus of control is a hallmark of stable identity. Therapy helps resolve past traumas or experiences that may have initiated the reliance on performance for safety or validation. Healing these foundational wounds allows for a healthier identity formation in the present. By working with a therapist, individuals can move from having a fragile, performance dependent identity to a stable, authentic, and resilient sense of self that endures regardless of external circumstances. At the end of the day, individual and family therapy are here to help rewrite old patterns. Combining individual and family therapy offers a powerful holistic approach to rewriting old patterns, as it addresses issues on both a personal level and within the relationship systems that they are embedded in. This dual approach ensures individual growth is supported by a healthier family environment and helps prevent old dynamics from undermining personal progress. Individual therapy provides the self awareness and personal tools needed to initiate change. Some of these we already talked about, like identifying and owning personal triggers, understanding what sets us off, what patterns we're getting stuck in, and what triggers set us down paths that we don't want to be on anymore. Going further with that, it helps heal personal trauma. That gets rid of some of those triggers so we have more control over our life and what we want to do. And going further, we build a stable sense of self so that we can live life in a way that optimizes performance and it feels a little more fulfilling to who we are as an individual and not who we think we need to be. And finally, developing new coping skills to manage things when things get hard, because as difficult as life may be, there are ways to make it easier. We can't make life easier itself, but we can make dealing with the hard things a little more manageable. And that is a really great aspect of therapy too. So again, make sure you get this stuff if this is something you need. Even if you're unsure about it, just check it out. You may benefit in a really great way from it, in a way that you never thought of before. Resilient minds, premier results. Recognition is the first step. We have to see these things before we can do anything about it, so pay attention to what you're doing and reflect on yourself. The more you see, the more you can change. If you got any benefit from this, that is awesome. We'd love to hear that, and we'd love to get reviews from you guys about that. So make sure to leave reviews if anything about this was helpful or powerful for you. And if there's anyone in your life that you think could benefit from hearing these things, send this episode to them and see what they think. It might start them on a path that leads to some success they never even thought was possible. And our main goal is trying to get this to as many people as we can, just to spread the awareness. So leaving those reviews or sending it to people is very helpful for us. I make it a point to give you actionable tools to find success in your life. So let me know if it's helping. I love staying connected with you all, and I just want to know how it's all going, whether it's success or failure or anything in between. It's all okay, and I just want to hear about it and help out if I can. To stay connected, there's a lot of ways to do it. You can email me at tmailer@premierperformancereno.com. My last name is spelled Mahler. You could text or call me directly at 775-561-0056. We have the Instagram and the TikTok with the same name for both of those. We're building communities and posting daily, which is premier_performance_Reno for both of those. We have the Facebook page and the LinkedIn page where, again, we're posting more of this stuff, both with the same names, which is Premier Performance LLC. And then we have the Twitter or the X account, which is at Premier Reno LLC, followed by our website, which is www.premierperformancereno.com, where we'll post all our services, resources, activities that you could take advantage of. So go check it out and see if there's anything helpful there. Next week, we're going to jump into heart rate variability and the circadian rhythm, understanding the signals our body is sending us, what they're saying, how to deal with them, how to manage them, and how to set yourself up for success. Just further connecting that mind and body so you can operate at the highest levels possible. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great week. Enjoy yourself, push yourself a little bit. Challenges are great. Try and reach for that high level of performance with whatever you're doing, and optimize what you're doing by taking care of you too. Enjoy yourself and have fun while you're doing it, because that's just as important. And if there's anything you need, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you next week. We'll talk soon. Bye.